Hi, everyone. I am going to try to use Zoom to record the week in review video for this week. So this is new to me, recording something on Zoom. So I'm going to try and share my screen and see what that looks like. So I'm going to start by sharing my assignments page on my website. And what I'm going to do is scroll down to the beginning of the week and sort of go up through the week as I talk about things. So the beginning of the week, back on the weekend, I posted a couple of sign-up pages for people to sign up for small group Zoom meetings, and I had several good meetings with students. So that was good to touch base and to answer some questions and have some discussions. Something else that I put in Google Classroom was a link to this Padlet about digital citizenship. And the reason that I wanted you to sign up for Padlet was so that when you post something onto this Padlet, it will have your name. So for instance, here are a couple of posts that students put on with their names so that I can tell how you're contributing. So this was something that I wanted everybody to contribute to sometime this week. So if you haven't done that yet, I would like you to either do it right on here or to go to the website. And the idea is we want to have digital citizenship, which means being respectful and considerate in how you interact with people online, like on posts like this, emails, and things like that. Another assignment that I assigned to you this week has to do with the fact that we're doing lots of emails. So I wanted you to learn the parts of a letter. So I assigned for you to write me a letter. And the idea is that not every single email needs to be quite as formal as this, but I wanted you to learn the different parts of a letter. So on an email, it's not as important to put your address and that kind of thing. But if you do ever send a letter, it's important to put your address at the top of a letter so that somebody knows how to respond to you and where to send their reply. But the salutation is important, even in an email. So where it starts with Dear Mr. McLeod or whomever you're writing to, that's an important thing even for most emails. Then the body is where the message or the thoughts and ideas go. It's just like the body of a paragraph. It's the part that is, it's the filling in the sandwich. And then the closing is where you show that you're finished. You can say yours sincerely or yours truly or something like that. You'll notice that I often end the emails that I send to you with some kind of a closing like that. And then you put your name at the end so that the person knows who is writing to them, even though they can see that in an email by looking at your address. So that's why I put this on the assignments page so that you can see those parts. The link that I sent you to helped you to build a letter part by asking you to put in your name and put in the date and all of those kinds of things. But you didn't necessarily need to use that link to send me an email with the same parts or the same components. And then this week I also created a new video about historical thinking concepts because I thought that maybe the video that I made a couple of years ago might have been a little hard to understand. And normally when I teach it, I'm in class and then I can discuss it with students afterwards. So I tried to make a new version that was a little bit more straightforward and easier to understand. So I hope everybody got a chance to watch that. And then if you wanted to go back and make some changes to your Google Doc that you completed last week in the historical thinking concepts assignment, you could do that. And if you already turned it in, you can unsubmit it and make some changes and then turn it in again. So I think that is the lion's share of what I assigned to you that was new this week. Of course, you could have been working on things like your Green Learning Challenge, whatever you've chosen. If you haven't chosen anything yet, that would be a good time for you to decide what you're going to work on during this time as in terms of growing at something. And then what I did was I added yellow and red learning activity. So this is the kind of learning activity that once you've finished the blue learning activities, and if you're interested in stretching yourself and trying to challenge yourself to learn a little bit more, then what I've done here is I have put in Google Classroom the latest issue of What in the World. So that's the magazine with articles that we often read in class, and this one is a special issue that's about COVID-19. So it's got an article, it's all about the pandemic. So it's got an article about COVID-19 in Canada. It's got another article about what about the economy. So that's people buying things and working and money and those aspects of society. And then there is an article about the science behind the outbreak, and it's got some maps and it explains different things about the COVID-19 pandemic. So if you're interested, there's a password to be able to read the PDF. So when you download or you click on the PDF in Google Classroom, you'll have to enter the password, which I have described both in Google Classroom and in the email I sent you, and it's also here on my assignments page. So the password is WASH2. The latest thing that I put on the Google Classroom, or on my assignments page, I should say, I haven't put it in Google Classroom yet, is a video that I took of myself and my family doing a half-hour workout. So I had some technical difficulties. My phone actually ran out of memory, and so it didn't record the whole workout the first time that I did it. This week I did the workout again, and I just started recording towards the end of the workout, the part that was missed on the recording last time. And then what I did was I spliced them together and put them into this video. So this is an example of what I'm doing at home to stay in shape, and it's an example of something that my whole family joined in with me. So my son, who's in grade 6, and my daughter, who's in grade 11, and my wife, who's also a teacher, we all did it together. And then when I did the last part, I was doing that on my own. But I break down the things that we did, and it's a pretty good half-hour workout if you're looking for something to do. No equipment required. I even did it in my stocking feet. So if you're interested in ideas for staying in shape at home, then you can check out that video. I'm going to share another couple of things. So right now I'm going to move right on to the next one. I just wanted to show you the email that I sent you on April 15th. So that was on Wednesday. And basically it just has a list of things to do. So I just tried to put it in a bit of a checklist format. So it's got a list of the things for this week, and it's got the things that I had assigned last week. And I haven't set any due dates yet, but if you don't finish some of these things, then when new things get added to the list will become too big. So I want you to try and get as much done as you can from this list this week. Obviously, that doesn't include the ongoing things like your All About Me portfolio and your student learning profile and your website and things like that. Those are things that you'll basically have until June to finish. Things like practicing French, you could probably do it a little bit every day, or you could do it once every couple of days. I would say at least a couple of times a week, you want to spend some time practicing some French. And Mind Up, that's one of those things that you could do every day if you find it helpful, or you could sort of have it in your back pocket if you might need it one day. And I'm just going to go through the list sort of from the bottom. So a couple weeks ago when we started this whole process, I asked you to create a home routine or a home schedule to help keep you on track and to give you that routine that's helpful to have. So if you haven't done that yet, I would like you to do it. And this is something that's a tool for you. So I'm not going to give you a mark on the proficiency scale for this, but it's something that I would like you to do. And I'll give you some feedback in terms of if I think it's missing something. But it's also something that you can change. So if it's not working for you the way that you've done it, you can change it and move things around, change the timings for things, add pieces that you need to add that you might not have thought of before, things like that. And then there's last week's things that I assigned to you last week. So there's the assignment about historical thinking concepts, and there's the link to the video, the first video that I sent you. And then there was the Padlet about historical thinking concepts, and it's a yellow learning activity. So if you finish the assignment and you would like to look at the Padlet and make a contribution, you're welcome to. If you would like to look at the Padlet to see what other people think, to give you ideas for when you're trying to finish the assignment, that might be a good idea. And I asked everyone to sign up for Kaizena. So that's so that I can start giving you feedback. That's how I'd like to give you feedback about your research notes on your gathering grid from before spring break. So those were the things that I asked you to do last week. And then I've already talked to you about the things from this week. So I made a new video about historical thinking concepts, and I asked you to write me a letter, and I asked you to contribute to that Padlet about digital citizenship. One thing I wanted to mention is if you sign up for a Zoom meeting, or if you'd like to come to my office hours and have a Zoom meeting with me, this is the link here. So I've now put that link in several emails that I've sent to you. So you can always look up an old email and open it up to get that link at the last minute if you're wondering how to get into the Zoom meeting. And that way you're not left writing me an email at the last second, and then I have to leave the Zoom meeting with somebody else in order to send you the link. But the link is right here. So you can always get into those regular Zoom meetings with me and to my office hours by going to that link. So I've got everything in the email that I sent you on Wednesday. There's links to the YouTube videos, to the Padlet website, to Kaizena, to my blueprint even, and to the Student Weebly website and my assignments page if you wanted to check out those things. So I tried to put a whole bunch of things together in one email to make it convenient. And I wanted to share one last thing on the screen as we sort of wrap up this week. I just wanted to show you an example of filling in the historical thinking concepts notes. So the name of the concept, that was the name that was right here in the colorful rectangle on the poster over to the left. These are like the posters that are on the wall in my classroom. So you just copy it right from the colorful rectangle. So the first name is historical significance. The second one is continuity and change. The third one is cause and consequence. And then there is historical perspectives, the ethical dimensions of history, and primary source evidence. And so I'm showing you an example of a student who filled in their thoughts about each of these things. Historical significance is really, another word for that would be historical importance. So these are the events or the things that happened that it's important for us to focus on, to remember, to talk about when we talk about history. So you want to pick things that impacted a large number of people over a long period of time, and that had a pretty big impact on them. So that's the main idea of historical significance. Continuity and change, the word continuity basically means things that stay the same. So as history goes on and moves into the present, some things change and some things stay the same, and it's a matter of looking at what's the same and what's different, and sort of thinking about whether things are getting better or whether in some ways things are maybe not getting better, and also comparing how things are changing and staying the same. The concept of cause and consequence is about looking at how things in history cause the situations that come after them, or the situation in the present. And historical perspectives is looking at the points of view and the opinions and the things that people thought at different times in history, because they can be quite different from the ways that we look at things and the ways that we think about things. The ethical dimensions of history is basically about looking at things that happened in the past and asking whether they were right or wrong. And so an example that many of you have mentioned is looking at the residential schools and recognizing that 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 was a wrong in history, that that shouldn't have happened. And the reason that we want to look at that is so that we make sure never to make those kinds of mistakes again. And then the concept of evidence is a little bit complicated. So we'll talk about that some more. But the main idea in terms of looking at evidence for history is looking at documents, looking at things like newspaper articles from history, and looking at all of those kinds of things in order to figure out what really happened in history. And being skeptical and asking good questions about what happened in history and whether the evidence that you're looking at is trustworthy, whether it's accurate, whether it's credible, whether it's something that that you can trust to make decisions about what happened in history. So to wrap up this week's Week in Review video, I just wanted to remind everybody that if you've got a question, you can send me an email. If you want to have a Zoom meeting so that I can help you out with things by sharing my screen with you, then you can come during my office hours. You can sign up for a small group Zoom meeting when I put out a sign up for next week. And you could always email me and we could try and work out another time when we could have a Zoom meeting for me to help you out with things. So I hope that you've been enjoying remote schooling, and I hope you're starting to get into the swing of things and not letting things get too out of hand in terms of not finishing things, but I hope that you're trying to keep up and trying to get some things done. I'm trying to be pretty reasonable by not assigning you a whole lot, but at the same time, there are some things that I would like you to learn, and so I'm trying to create assignments that help you to learn those things, and so that we can work together to finish up the school year in a positive way. So I will leave it at that for now, and I will send you an email again at the beginning of next week to let you know what the plan is for next week.